Hi, this is Morley, and this is the M-Wire. Well, folks, probably like you, I needed a couple of days just to get ready for Christmas. I hope you're ready for Christmas. You got less than a week to do it. But what I'm going to talk about today is Russia. There has been an awful lot going on with Russia. It is multi-complexional, if you will. The complexion of this whole situation with Russia and Ukraine has changed dramatically in the last couple of days, and I'm going to go over some of the highlights as to how that's changed. For instance, all you need to do is look at this picture that I have showing right now, and you will see the body language of Vladimir Putin and President Xi as they met several days ago via video conference, much in the way that Biden did with Vladimir Putin. Only this meeting was a lot more friendly and a lot more cordial. Folks, it's pretty obvious that battle lines are being drawn and alliances are being formed. That couldn't be more apparent than it is now. Vladimir Putin is very, very cozy and cuddly, if you will, with President Xi Jinping of China. Now, I would not bat an eyelid in surprise if and when Vladimir Putin decides to move on Ukraine, Xi Jinping of China decides to move on Taiwan. Taiwan is a very valuable piece of real estate as far as China is concerned. You can consider Taiwan the Silicon Valley of Asia, as many, many computer products are manufactured there. So that certainly incentivizes China to take it. They believe it's rightfully theirs, and they want to assimilate it formally into the country of China. Now, the EU, NATO are essentially threatening Russia with sanctions if they invade the Ukraine. I don't think they're going to put any boots on the ground. The United States has already said that it has absolutely no intentions of doing so. And that statement is mirrored by the defense minister of Britain, who said, "It's a fact that the Ukraine is not a member of NATO, so it is highly unlikely that anyone is going to send troops to challenge Russia. We shouldn't kid people on that we would," he said. I tend to agree with that. If the United States isn't willing to put boots on the ground for it, I don't think any NATO-backed European country is willing to do the same. The cost would be too high. They think that they can just essentially sanction Vladimir Putin into calming down and withdrawing his troops from the Ukrainian border, but I don't think that's going to work economically. Because here's what Russia has in place as a contingency, as the EU and NATO have essentially threatened to cut Russia off from SWIFT payments, which is a payment provider predominant in Russia, to collect payments from merchants. This is what the contingency plan they have in place should that dire economic sanction come to pass. The SWIFT system for financial transactions between banks worldwide was previously the only system for international payments. The central role for SWIFT began to erode when the U.S. used it as a political weapon. The Americans first expelled Iran and North Korea, and in 2014 Washington began threatening to expel Russia from the system as well. Over the past few weeks, the threat of using SWIFT as a weapon against Russia has intensified. China has responded by creating a CIPS and Russia-developed SPFS, both being alternatives to SWIFT. Even several other European countries have banded together with an alternative to SWIFT to curb Washington's extraterritorial jurisdiction and thus continue trading with Iran. A new China-Russia financial architecture should integrate CIPS and SPFS and make them more available to third parties. If the U.S. expels Russia, then the decoupling from SWIFT would intensify further. So as you can see, folks, Russia already has a contingency plan in place, not that they could implement this overnight or anything, but they do have a plan if the international community does end up cutting them off of SWIFT payments. Now tell me this, does Europe have a plan if Russia cuts off the gas in the middle of winter to Europe? I don't think they do. They would have to buy, obviously, a lot of foreign oil very quickly to keep their gas going if that did indeed transpire. I don't think they know who they'd buy it from. I don't think they're nearly as prepared to deal with a gas shortage as Russia is to deal with a payment provider being cut off from Russia as a whole. Now, militarily speaking, things are intensifying as well. Like, in addition to the massive buildup of troops that Vladimir Putin has on the Russian-Ukrainian border, Russia has been literally flying nuclear-capable bombers on patrol over Belarus. It would appear that Belarus is certainly palling up to Russia in this conflict, as battle lines are being formed as we speak. Let's get into this quick article from military.com and find out the particulars on this, shall we? Russia sent a pair of nuclear-capable long-range bombers to patrol the skies over Belarus on Saturday, a mission intended to underline close defense ties between the two allies amid tensions with the West. The Russian Defense Ministry said two Tu-22M3 strategic strike bombers practiced performing joint tasks with the Belarusian Air Force and Air Defense. Su-30 fighters that Russia had supplied to Belarus escorted the bombers. Saturday's 4-hour patrol marked Russia's third such mission in Belarus since last month and took place amid Western concerns over a Russian troop buildup near Ukraine's border. Moscow has denied harboring plans to invade Ukraine and pressed the United States for security guarantees that would include NATO expanding into Ukraine or deploying weapons there. The U.S. and its allies are almost certain to reject Moscow's demands. Some Ukrainian officials have voiced concern that Russia may use Belarus as a base for attacking their country from the north. Amid its own tensions with the European Union, Belarusian President Andrew Lukashenko said last month that his country would be ready to host Russian nuclear weapons. The European Union has accused the authoritarian Lukashenko of encouraging migrants and refugees to use his country as a backdoor to illegally enter neighboring EU nations Poland, Lithuania, and Latvia. The EU imposed sanctions on Lukashenko's government for its crackdown on internal dissent after Lukashenko's disputed 2020 re-election. The Belarusian leader wouldn't elaborate on what kind of Russian weapons Belarus would be willing to accommodate, but noted that the ex-Soviet nation has carefully preserved the necessary military infrastructure dating back to the time of the USSR. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has described Lukashenko's offer as a serious warning prompted by reckless Western policy. Belarus top diplomat Vladimir Makai seconded Lukashenko's statement in an interview released Saturday. He said Belarus could agree to host nuclear weapons as part of its response to possible NATO activities in Poland. Echoing Russian concerns about growing ties between Ukraine and NATO, Makai said the Western military alliance was Ukraine and a bridgehead against Russia. Folks, this situation is certainly intensifying. The fact that nuclear weapons are even being discussed, they're flying nuclear bombers over Belarus. I don't think Russia's playing here, folks. I really don't. They realize that the West, particularly the United States, is very soft under the Biden administration, and Vladimir Putin plans to exploit that to his full benefit. He is absolutely adamant about no Eastern NATO expansion, and NATO is of the demeanor that we will admit whoever we like, whenever we like, without your input, Mr. Putin. So that's where we are right now, folks. This situation is not going away anytime soon. If you haven't been following it, this is a very underreported story. Please share the video if you're able. But I just wanted to give you this quick synopsis as to what's been going on with Russia over the past few days, and as I said, it's getting increasingly complex. But thank you so much for coming along with me to my update. Please remember to like, to comment, to share, and of course to subscribe. And until the next update, God bless.